This is Musical Talk.
Musical Talk.
The UK's independent musical theatre podcast.
Musical Talk. The UK independent musical theatre podcast.
Hello, I'm at my home away from home, the Royal Festival Hall. I'm sat here with Danielle Hope. Hello, Danielle
Hello.
Hope. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. A little wet, it's very rainy outside.
It's glorious, isn't it? So, we're just chatting before we started. I've just come from Manchester, where I saw Little Shop of Horrors, where
I grew up,
your
yes.
neck of the woods.
Absolutely.
Ain't it cold?
Oh my goodness, I forget, and every time I go home I bring like my London layers, and I get home and I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to wear 2 coats. The Royal Exchange is amazing though, it's one of my favourite
And then you had to buy a hat. I walked out of Primark because it was so... So I saw Little Shop of Horrors at the Royal Exchange, wonderful show, and it was done in a round.
Yes.
Which is always rare. It's never been done for that show, I don't think.
No.
Well, you forgive the noise, they seem to be rebuilding the venue while we're here, but I just thought Danielle and I would have a little chat. For those of you who don't know who Danielle Hope is, Danielle, you can explain how you were thrust into the living rooms of 12 million people every...
I like that, thrust into the living rooms. I didn't come down the chimney. It was on the screen. I did Over the Rainbow with the BBC, which is a search for Dorothy, and won that. And that was almost 5 years ago now. Oh my goodness. And yeah, little did I know 5 years ago I'd be sat here in the Royal Festival Hall. Or even living in London.
Neither did I.
No. Yeah, so I did that, and then I was Eponine in Les Mis. I did Cathy in the last 5 years, and then most recently the narrator in Joseph.
And now you're off to the other TV show.
Yes, Maria, which is the first one of the Andrew Lloyd Webber programmes, wasn't it? Yes.
It's not the same production though, is it?
No, it's not. No, it's a completely new production, new design, new set, new concept.
New songs.
Yeah, imagine. It's really exciting. We open on Thursday, so I get into the theatre for the first time this evening.
Where's that?
Bromley. We start in Bromley. We have 4 days there. So excited.
These tours just sound exhausting because the minute you've settled into your digs and you get to know everyone, it's like getting a truck with going off to
it's moving
somewhere else.
I mean, Sound of Music is sitting down everywhere for 2 weeks, whereas Joseph we did a week. But I don't know which is the less of two evils, really, because a week you don't have time to settle at all.
2 weeks you get so settled.
Yeah, and we did 2 weeks in Dublin with Joseph, and I remember just starting to think, okay, I've got a bit of a routine now, I know where I want to be, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, it's time to move, and I got a little bit emotional because I was like, I'm not ready.
I saw the original Joseph.
Did you?
Not the original, but the Palladium one in about 20...
With Lindsay Haitley.
With Lindsay Haitley.
Who played my Madame T in Les Mis.
Oh.
Yes.
And our very own Mike Dixon conducting.
Really?
Yes.
I think this will be another experience. I'm doing 6 months, and just to kind of find out which is better. Well, I guess just having 2 weeks in one theatre, even if it's so you don't have to repack your dressing room. But it's when you're in the West End, you don't really think about obviously moving anything, because when you're there for however long the contract is, or however long you hope that your contract is. And whereas touring, it's like an added stress, I think. But I didn't really think about that before I started touring. I just thought, and Joseph was 10 shows a week.
It's another skill to learn, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And you kind of think, okay, so lots of sleep definitely required,
well,
and smart travel plans, I think, like you've experienced with the Virgin trains.
Yes, thank you, Virgin. Well, we won't go into that.
No.
But I want to cast your mind back to, was it 5 years ago?
Yes.
Yes. Just tell me everything.
I mean,
I guess the main thing, it was televised, so you have the memories of it.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
I've never watched it back, though.
Oh, okay.
I think I just wanted to keep my experience as the one that I saw through my own eyes and that I experienced, and I think watching it back might freak me out a little bit, just to be like, oh, is that what everyone was watching? Like, because I don't know how it was all edited together and all of that. But because we did the live performances, I was like, okay, I tried to treat it as if it was just a live show. Yeah, so it was about this time exactly now, 5 years ago, that I would have had my first audition, and then it went from 9,000 to 100, and then we all came to London, went to Hackney Empire, and we did an audition there. And then the final 50, we got put on a bus and taken somewhere. I don't know where we were. We weren't told.
Blindfolded.
Honestly, and then told to change T-shirts into the little green ones with the Dorothy with a question mark on. And we went on, and then we got dropped off at this other station, and we got on another bus, and we got somewhere else.
So it's like my journey yesterday.
Yes, absolutely. So really disorientated. It's the middle of this farm. They called it Dorothy Farm, I think, on the programme. For a long weekend, where we did training with Andrew Lloyd Webber and with Claire Moore, who's on the vocal coach, and Donna, the acting coach, and just everyone, Kevin Allen. We did loads of training and loads of songs like in preparation for a final performance that would then whittle down to the final 20. And there just wasn't a moment to stop and actually like take any kind of stock. That's really interesting, because you think, I watched The Apprentice and I think... Oh, me too.
Like, how can they get a phone call at 5 o'clock in the morning and saying you're leaving for Chiswick in half an hour, and they all look that good? I mean, you just think there's more going on here, but that's interesting how it really was as disorientating as you say.
Absolutely. It's not kind of like Art Attack, here's one I made earlier.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it was definitely on the spot and on the go, and all the missions that we did every week, because I don't know if you remember, but there was like a mission every Wednesday we would film, and it would get put in the middle of the programme. And they were like full day events, so really we only had 2 days of rehearsal and prep for the final performance on the Saturday, and then you'd spend the whole day of the Friday, you know, teching, if you like, for that show. What was interesting was the way my brain and body worked, like during and after the programme, because all the information we took in so quickly was then disposed of instantly, and then new information, and it was funny then starting rehearsals for the actual show, The Wizard of Oz, and going through all that process and all that creativity and previews, and getting to press night and it feeling like the final, where you do it and then you discard everything, it's done. Whereas it was like press night, oh right, okay, now you have to maintain that level for the whole year. And again, that was something I'd never had to do. Like, you know, at school you do like a week or something in high school of shows. And
because you were quite young, weren't you?
Yeah, I was 17 on the programme, and then 18 by the time I came out. I had my 18th birthday on one of the live shows. So
did that? I wonder if that beat out Emma Williams from. She was the youngest person to perform a lead role in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Oh, was she?
I think at the time. I think she was 16 when she did that.
Oh wow!
Which is
oh
quite
my goodness, really?
You northern girls, you can just.
Oh my god, I know. Blimmin' heck.
It's a heck of a prize, isn't it, to play the most iconic, arguably one of the most iconic roles in ever, at the most iconic theatre ever. Yeah. In a sort of new musical by the most iconic musical theatre composer ever. That wasn't in your mind, though, I'm guessing, or was it?
No, just all of that was like, oh, and it's more in retrospect now that I look back and I think, oh my goodness, did I do all of those things with all of those people? And at the time it was just like, okay, just do your best, be really focused, work hard, learn this, do that, and I didn't ever stop to kind of sit back and like relish in it, which I think was a good thing though, because I just kept looking on and forward and trying to just take each day as it came, you know. But in retrospect now I think, wow, and like Michael Crawford is like another father to me, like, you know, he's a huge part of my life, and I am
Ask
so
him to
thankful.
tell you about his EFX show from Las Vegas.
His EFX show, okay, we've touched on it briefly, but I want to hear
I saw a documentary about it, and this was back in the mid-90s, and it was the most expensive show of all time. It had 2 dragons in it, both $1 million each, having a fight with each other.
I shall pick his brain next time I see him.
It's so Vegas.
Oh wow.
But just so, yeah, and also just to add more amazingness to it, you're going to be with Michael Crawford playing the wizard.
I know, like, what? I remember this is so funny. The first time I met him, we just had a little chat, and he gave me a pair of red slippers, like hotel slippers. He said, I've just come from somewhere, and these were in there, and I thought of you. And he gave them to me, and he'd signed them. And I was like, that's a strange present, but thank you. And it wasn't until about 3 months later that I realised ruby slippers, and they were red slippers, and that was the joke. And it took me about 3 months. I think I was in such shock of meeting him. I was like, in my head I was like, that's a really strange gift to give me, but okay, I'll just...
So was this before you knew you were going to be with him in the show?
Yes, like literally the first time meeting him.
So it's like a clue.
A clue! And I was like, oh...
I thought you were going to say they were the real ruby slippers from the film.
No, they were just like hotel slippers, but they were red, and it's still so funny. I've still got them, obviously. But yeah, just to wear the ruby slippers and walk on the Albert Road.
And it was very brave of Andrew to not edit the score, but write more stuff.
Add new music, absolutely. But I think it really worked, because there isn't actually that much music in The Wizard of Oz. And I think as an onstage musical, it was really craving that 11 o'clock number, especially the one that he wrote for Glinda and Dorothy. And I loved that.
Which was in it, then it wasn't in it, and then...
Oh yes, it was in and out, and at the interval sometimes we were like, is it in, is it out? We don't know, But that's the joy of theatre, isn't it? And so thank goodness it stayed in the end, because we loved it.
And you got a beautiful cast recording out of it as well.
Oh, yes.
So you kind of won the dream.
Absolutely, it was like a whole package.
Did you sit there thinking, and I mean this in the politest possible way, how will it ever top this?
Yes, it was. I think someone said to me, actually, you've come in at such a level, and the London
it's like writing your hit show being the first one, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And it's kind of like, how do you sustain that? And I think these days success is longevity, and how do you just keep going? And I didn't put any pressure on myself, and I kept having to remind myself, because I'm my own worst enemy, that I was only 18, I was 19 by the time I came out of the programme, and instead of being like, why aren't I doing this, why aren't I doing that, it's like, actually I've done a hell of a lot very, very early. I wouldn't have even graduated drama school by this point. Even when I did Les Mis, I wouldn't have even finished my 3-year degree by the time I'd finished those 2 massive jobs. So I had to learn to kind of give myself a bit of a break, because I was very hard on myself.
And you were at Arts Ed as well?
Yes, I did, because I was auditioning for drama schools at the same time as auditioning for Dorothy, but I never got to any of the drama schools because I was doing the programme.
So Andrew said, go to my school.
So I said it's really important to me if I go to drama school, and I'd met by chance Chris Hocking, the head of musical theatre at Arts Ed, in a bar in Chiswick, in Balance in Chiswick. I was having dinner with someone. Yes, closed, yes. And I met him, and I'd said, I went over, this was there was still 6 or 7 girls left, and I said, I'm really sorry I missed my audition. He didn't have a clue, obviously, who I was, I was nobody, and so I'm really sorry I missed my audition, and I really hope I can come and audition again once whenever I come out of this programme. And he was like, I'm sure we can, sort something out or find a place for you to audition. So I was kind of like, okay, thank you. So when I did win, I said to Andrew, I've got about 6 months between this and rehearsals. Can I go and do some training? And he said, I have a lot to do with Arts Ed, and I joined the second years. So I went straight in, and in the deep end again. It seems I can't dive, I can't swim underwater, but I seem to constantly be diving in. But so it was amazing, and that's what made London home, because I didn't know anyone when I first moved here for Dorothy, and when I went to Arts Ed, I actually had a group of like-minded people of the same age, all striving for the same thing, and it was just a really lovely, welcoming building. And they could have easily been like, who are you? We've paid to be here, and we're here for 3 years, and you're just dropping in. It doesn't work like that. But the vibe wasn't like that at all. I prepared myself for the worst, as you do, but I don't think I'm the type of person to come into a situation and feel like the world owed me something, or I kind of went in like, thank you so much for letting me come in and join your classes. I was terrified.
There's something very special about that school, and it's we talked about it on the show before. What was it that gave you that the Palladium didn't, in a way, if you see what I mean?
I think probably the opportunity to fail and to fall, and just various techniques, because obviously with the Palladium and Wizard of Oz, I was training and rehearsing for one role and one specific task. So everything that I learned on that job for that role, I'll have forever. But Arts Ed gave me lots of different skills and techniques and things for the rest of life. And if I'd gone for 3 years, I would have learned a hell of a lot more. But what it did give me was a foundation and a base for my mind as well in London, so that I felt confident and assured enough to walk into the first day of rehearsals and think, okay, I know I've got this, I can do this.
Singing the last 5 years is very different to singing Over the Rainbow on Short
Isn't it?
Arts.
And Les Mis, and singing on my own is completely different. And I've kind of been blessed and challenged very much so in going different vocal styles. And actually Maria now, the child agrees.
Speaking of.
Maria is the closest to my natural voice, I would say, and the thing that I would find most natural to do. So
And it's hard with Maria and Dorothy to not be influenced by certain other performers.
Absolutely, because like Julie Andrews is my hero. Like my hero, Mary Poppins, is my ultimate role. Like that would be the be all end all for me if I could do that.
So it's touring the country again.
I've heard, yes. And
you can do two shows.
Can you imagine? Oh, and Maria likewise, and she has such a beautiful transformation throughout the two acts.
They're similar characters in a way, apart from the sternness.
Yes.
They're haughty British nannies in a way.
Yes, exactly. And I think this Maria will be my first womanhood kind of role, and it's kind of that transition into being an adult. Yeah, a grown-up, exactly, and given that responsibility. And you actually see Maria transform into the grown-up throughout the show, which I think for me is perfect. But it's funny because I'm actually approaching it, the younger, youthful, more innocent, naive scenes, I've actually found the most challenging, whereas the older side I found more natural, which is very bizarre. But
so where else are you heading on this tour?
We open in Bromley, and then we go to Southampton, and then
Mayflower?
Yes, which I've never been to.
Neither have
Apparently
I.
it's massive, so I'm excited for that. And then we go on to Sheffield. I think that's the closest in these 6 months that I'll get to Manchester. So again, come on Virgin, I'm depending on you. I've got to commute.
We're not affiliated with it with Artsed or Virgin on this show at all, don't worry.
No. It might not even be there. It might be like TransPennine or something. Anyway, public transport of the north, please be with me. And then I actually have a week off because I have my American debut, my solo concert at 54 Below in New York.
Awesome.
On Friday the 13th. Great date. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So I have the second week of Sheffield out of the show, and then I fly from New York to Glasgow. And I've never done Scotland either, so that'll be...
I hope you got a couple of days off between flying from New
Just
York.
one day, but I'm fine with jet lag. It doesn't bother me anymore. It's fine.
Wait till you get older.
Yes. It'll catch up with me.
Yes.
But so that's exciting. So we're doing Scotland, we're doing Belfast and Dublin, Bristol. Just
and it's amazing how it's a show that can still sustain a tour of these lengths.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's only just left London, it seemed, because it played outside in the park.
Yeah.
And it had obviously the successful Palladium run, and that toured and stuff. What is it about that show? Because I'm not the biggest fan of Rodgers and Hammerstein.
Okay.
I think probably 60 years ago I probably would have been a huge fan, obviously, but I love the Sound of Music though. It has... My theory is because it's got kids in it, which I think is always the best thing you can do in any show.
Yeah.
But you obviously know the piece, you come to it from a different angle than I have, so what's your theory as to why it's so sustainable?
I think this about many shows that are still, in the West End or and long running,
in the canon.
Is it comes from truth, and this is a real part of history. This is a real family, and yes, it's romanticised and it's glorified with music and beautiful sets.
War.
And the war, but this really happened to a family, and like you say, when you look at it from a child's point of view as well, and then you have the mother and you have the Abbey and the captain, you kind of have all of these different viewpoints on it, and no matter who you are or what background you come from, you connect with somebody or in some way because you kind of view it as the family, I think. And as well with everyone's connection, like the Wizard of Oz, I had the exact same kind of conversations when doing that. Which isn't based on fact. No, I wish Emerald City existed. But in terms of the family connection, the childhood, the films are so well known, and it's such a huge part of people's lives that I think it's a familiarity with it, and people it takes them back to wherever that film or that story took them.
I have to say, when Wizard of Oz was opening, I was on a bus with the lovely 94 bus. I think going to see the Wizard of Oz, and there were people behind me saying, "Oh, do you know they've done a prequel to Wicked?"
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
So that sums up everything that's wrong in the world, I think.
Yes. Oh wow. Yes. That's so funny.
I'll just leave that with you for...
Thank you, I'll take that one away with me.
I presume you've seen Wicked and you think, no, it's not how it happened.
I have.
And you see Wizard of Oz and think, no, that's not what really happened. It shows the power of the Wizard of Oz as well as...
It really does.
We'll have a prequel to The Sound of Music soon.
Could you imagine? No. Before the Abbey.
I hope it goes well.
Thank you.
And it does seem like a bit of a real slog to get it on, and especially do those songs.
Oh yeah,
every night.
and we put it together in like 2.5 weeks, and I'm really, really like proud of it. And I'm in no way have any ownership over the role. I'm just carrying the baton until the next person takes it. And I've had that with a lot of the roles I've done, because I've Dorothy, and just it's like you're looking after it. Eponine, so many people who've done it before you and people who will continue to do it, and you just got to kind of go in and do your spin on it and have a good time. And I love to look at the kids and they're just loving it, and I kind of take a leaf out of their book and just nothing to prove, only to share.
It's lovely.
And just
And do you? Are there any dream apart from Mary Poppins? I hope you can step into her shoes again. What other dream roles are there out there for you?
Natalie in Next to Normal has been one. I
don't see that ever coming here, though.
Neither do I, but in my mind. But there's always hope. You never know. But anyway.
But if you're doing the New York thing, is that you trying to break into there into Broadway?
I mean,
well?
It's always been one of those lifelong achievements of mine to live in New York. I've always felt so at home there, and it was on my kind of like dream list of things to do, as was to live in London and to perform in a musical one day. And I didn't realise that I would achieve those two things. So the New York thing I guess is becoming a little bit more like a reality, and it's a huge thing for me to be doing in February for myself. Like that's like a life achievement. Like it might not be in a Broadway show, but for a solo concert, 54 Below is so cool, like amazing. So yeah, that would be something definitely for the future. I'd love to go and work over there. I really would.
Do you think inherently there's a difference between going to the theatre in New York and going to the theatre as an audience member in London? Because I much prefer it in London.
Do you?
It's much more relaxed here.
I do get it's much more relaxed because I think
you're herded in New York.
Well, we have the front of house space, don't we?
Yeah.
Because our theatres are so old, whereas theirs aren't as old as ours, and they don't have any like box office front of house space. No. You like queue around the building, but I guess for me it's like a grass is greener thing. Like I was like my American friends like, oh my god, London, the West End, and I'm like Broadway. It just feels it's exactly the same, but it just feels I don't know more magical.
Yeah,
but then it's just because London is like home, isn't it, of theatre? But I think I was walking around the West End when I get back from the Joseph tour, and I'd not been in central London for a while, and I was so inspired because I saw so many different shows, and like the Scottsboro Boys had come in, Memphis had come in, Maiden Dagenham had come in, as well as our staples with the Phantom and the Les Mis, and Saigon was there, and I was just like, this is really exciting. Like, and even if things don't run for 30 years, they're still getting on and up, and that was so exciting to me because I think that's the thing with Broadway is I always go and there's always something different on, and I just came into the West End and I was like, this is amazing, like new things are getting a chance, and that's...
Well, things in America are getting a chance.
Yes.
It's a bit of a sad state for British writing, but I think Maiden Dagenham is good, and I hope that keeps open because that is it's a very refreshing show. What is gratifying is that Matilda's made its money back on Broadway, which is amazing.
Yes.
To go there and see that, and Australia and the US tour and stuff, and I just wonder what the next big thing will be. Hopefully, Mary Poppins will make its come back to London where she belongs.
Wouldn't that be a
because
dream?
That would be absolutely lovely.
Wouldn't it? Oh.
So keep an eye out open for that casting because it's certainly a role I could see you doing.
Oh, it just
every nanny in the world you can go and play.
Yeah. All the nannies come to me. Oh.
And we hope that we can have a chat soon and have a lovely time in New York.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Do you have any plans to see any shows there, or are you just there?
I have a week there, but I've got to do a lot of rehearsals because I won't have rehearsed with the band or anything until I get there. But my dad's coming over, and my sister, while I'm flying them, they're coming over to watch the concert, and they've never been to New York before.
Okay.
I'm so excited.
Has Andrew put them on his jet?
No, he has not. I've done it.
Put them on your jet.
I wish. My jet in the shape of a British Airways plane. Yes.
Lovely. Do try and see some stuff there.
Yes. No, I will. February's always quite good as well because a lot of things are previewing, aren't they?